There you go, right from the man himself, Christian Watson. Not that it's going to prevent him from doing anything. I'd bet $1, Butchie, that the coaches will make sure he does not do anything for at least a day or two. Just got it.
Yeah,
wouldn't you bet
he's
$1
done
on that one?
Yeah.
Aaron Nagler joins us now. Our Packer Insider is brought to you by Rogers Behavioral Health, Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin, Miller Lite, and Hildebrand Law. Good morning, Nags. How are you? Would you
Good morning.
He says, even though he says, it's nothing I can do fine, they'll probably hold him out just to be safe.
Super safe. I mean, it really depends on the medical team. It's like not even the coaches. You know how Green Bay operates. They are extremely conservative. They want to make sure everyone's right as rain. And I suspect, I'm with you. I'd be surprised if he's out there today. I didn't expect him to play much on Saturday anyway, but now I would suspect probably not at all.
Yeah. Right now, this team is running on smooth glass lake right now, like when the lake is perfect and flat. I'm wondering, are you A, anticipating choppy water to come? Are you B, fearing choppy water to come? Or are you C, welcoming the inevitable choppy water to come? Because it's smooth glass sailing right now. This was the first little ripple, Nags.
Yeah. Right. No, I'm with you 100% on that last part. 100% expecting it and welcoming it. That's part of the gig in the NFL. You don't just march in. I talked about this on my chat yesterday at Cheesehead TV. You don't go through a season without adversity, at least a season that's worth a damn, right? Like, look no further than last year. I mean, we all remember how hard it was to watch this team on offense, especially for a good month, right? There's no doubt there will be bumps, right? There are going to be times where it's frustrating, and there are going to be parts where we're like, oh my gosh, it looks like they're kind of out of sync or disjointed or what have you. That's expected, and that should be welcomed. That's part of life in the National Football League. Don't look any further than the Kansas City Chiefs. Last year, they win the Super Bowl, but people, I guess, kind of forget they were not playing great ball kind of down like the stretch of most of November into December when they started to figure things out on offense. They really kind of gelled and hit the ground running in the playoffs. I mean, I'm not saying that's the blueprint. That's one way to, that's one path, but there are going to be times where, okay, it feels disjointed and it feels like, oh gosh, they maybe are hitting kind of a rough patch. That's fine. The number one thing you want from that is, okay, what can we learn from this? How can we improve? That's what the Packers did last year, and I suspect we're going to see it again this season.
Well, you talk about, Nags, a little bit about what they've learned. And through the preseason, Matt played players last year because he had to, right? So he learned something from that. What he took away is, I want my guys to play a little bit more than what we did in the past with Aaron.
Yep.
What else do you think he's taken away? And what else do you think he's learned that you're seeing visually that maybe he hasn't said out loud? Like, we know what he's said out as far as the preseason goes. He said it. They're playing. I've learned it. What else do you think he's learned?
That's a great question. I think you look at what he talked about yesterday as far as, nothing stays static and you got to keep growing and learning. I do think as far as like how he operates at camp, he said yesterday, they're doing more inside before they come out, right? And more individual stuff in that process. I don't think a ton has changed in that regard, but I do think Matt has gotten to a point where he's really firmly in control of when these guys need to be on the grass, how much rest and recovery they need. And I think he always kind of had a good handle on that, but I think he's really kind of mastered it now. There's little doubt in my mind that the playing of, the frontline guys in preseason will probably ruffle some fan feathers, which I completely understand, especially kind of been conditioned, right, after all the years with Aaron not playing. But I do think, and I don't think he'd ever admit this publicly, but I do think going down to Jacksonville a couple years ago and playing the Saints and just absolutely coming out looking atrocious, I got to think that stung and probably lingers in his head a little bit, especially after last season. Like you said, they play the guys, almost everybody, and they come out in Chicago and they look pretty damn good because they've played football. Like, I understand the thinking of, okay, the joint practices are going to help and practice is enough, etc. I understand that, like, as a concept theoretically, but I do think the game of football is so physical, it's so violent, it's so fast, and they're not doing that. As much as you like watching practice and as much as the joint practices are, the intensity certainly gets ratcheted up, no doubt about it. It's not a game. It's not game speed. You're not taking guys to the ground. It's just different. So I do understand Matt kind of falling into this camp where, I mean, I'm going to play my guys. I want Jordan to get some real action before we go down to Brazil.
And that's the thing that I've always worried about with this team is the physicality. It seems like when they play teams that have been more physical, San Fran, they've got bullied. And that's what for them to be a Super Bowl team, as much as everyone's talking about, that's the area for me. I'm not going to talk X's and O's. I don't know the X's and O's as much as I watch football. Like, I don't know what they're saying in the meetings. I do know sports. I do know what it means to be punked. And every time that they've lost, they've been punked. How do you change that culture? Because that's the one more that's the next level.
Well, I'm interested to see what happens on the defensive side, right? Because that's where it has to happen. That's where you want to see a complete change. And I will say, early returns. Now, I joke about this on Cheesehead TV all the time. Butch, I've been hurt, man. I got scars. I've been wounded. My heart is like bleeding always. Having thought, okay, we're turning it around on defense, and then never having turned it around on defense. I do think, okay, you can see how this defense will dictate as opposed to sitting back, letting it all kind of happen in front of them, and we're going to run up and make the tackle. This is a defense that's going to put quarterbacks in a bind, that is going to challenge wide receivers, that is going to kind of make life miserable up front for the opponent. Now, will they probably give up a play or two here or there? Yeah, I don't doubt it for a moment. But in Green Bay, Wisconsin, to find a defense doing exactly what you're talking about, like bullying the opposition, being physical, absolutely causing, havoc and mayhem in the backfield, down in and down out. It feels like it's going to be that kind of defense. Now, again, I've been hurt before, so I'm not totally bought in yet, but the early signs are really promising in that regard.
All right, Josh, do you think Nags is going to, at any point this year on the Cheesehead TV live game stream, scream about defenders playing too far off on 3rd and short?
I promise you.
Yes or no?
Yes, it's going to happen.
Corey,
it is a guarantee.
What week? Week 2.
Yeah. Corey gave me till the third quarter. Corey gave me till the third quarter of the first game before I'm bitching about the defense. So we'll see. We'll see.
I think you're going to hold it together in Brazil.
The king of press man, otherwise known as Aaron John Nagler. What is your middle name?
Wilson, but John works.
Aaron Wilson Nagler, the king of jam coverage at all times.
What are you doing?
Right. Let's go. Let's go.
Does Aaron Nagler care about giving it up over the top? No. He's like, YOLO, take our chances.
Let's go. I just want to dictate, Czabe. I need a defense that is telling the offense you're not going to just operate freely. Like, that's what drives me insane. Like, at least present a challenge. At least make them work for it. That's all I want. That's all I want.
All right, let's go around the horn on preseason. If you had the chance to say, here's how much I would play my starters, how would you arrange it in the current 3 preseason game format? Here's what I would do. First of all, the final preseason game is August 24th against the Ravens at Lambeau.
Mm-hmm.
Right behind you right now.
Right here.
Right comes to us. Like, that looks like a green screen, doesn't it, John?
I was going to say, I was going to ask
you,
is it a green screen?
No, that's the Banky experience.
That's the Banky HQ. And it's glorious.
Oh, well, it would have been nice had we been invited to that HQ.
Everyone was invited. Sent the email. I've got the email. Everyone was invited. We had our media party last night. You were invited. Stop whining.
My email inbox, but go ahead. Sorry.
All right. You live not far away. Go up there right now.
Yeah.
I would have been there.
Why wait?
Got his tongue, Nagler.
I would have been there.
Apparently, yeah.
Busy today.
So the final preseason game is August 24th at home. That gives a full 12 days, by my count, to the opener, right? Opener's on the 6th.
Sounds right. Okay. Your math is not incorrect.
All right. I would play my starters the following, because I do believe, like you do, that there's a lot to be said for the timing and mechanics of doing actual football.
Right.
The lining up, the getting off the ball, the snap. It's not so much about being tackled hard to the ground that you, quote, need. I don't know if you need that, but you need to be in a game with referees and doing the thing to be acclimated. So I would play my starters for 1 quarter the first game,
right?
1/2 the second game.
We're in lockstep,
and then
right
another
now.
Quarter on the 3rd preseason game.
See, that's where we differ. I'm with you. On the first 2, I 100% agree. The third one, I'd leave it just to the young guys. Like have a complete evaluation day of just my young talent. That would be
and I understand that. And most teams don't play starters now in the third preseason game at all. That's
right.
pretty much
which I understand. Like I totally
think
get
it makes sense. Yeah.
Well, and I guess if I'm the only guy doing it and I'm playing my ones in the first quarter of game 3,
right.
What decent looks are they getting against a bunch of twos?
Right. They're not. That's the point. And then here's the other aspect of that. Like, what if you roll out your ones and the opponent's twos just wipe the floor with you? Like playing totally
Great
vanilla,
point.
not
Great
game
point.
planning, and all of a sudden you're heading into the season. And by the way, you've got a week off now because you've got that kind of mini bye, right?
Mini
and now
bye,
you're sitting there for like 2 weeks thinking, oh God, what's our season? What's happening? What's my squad? Like, I don't know, man. That's playing with fire in my eyes.
I always love it, and I don't know if coaches still do this anymore, Nags, but they would say, well, I'm going to put my starters in their final preseason game, and they'll play a couple series. Unless they don't have a good couple series, then I'll leave them in for one.
Then I'll leave them in forever.
Have a good series. And I would laugh going, you realize what utter voodoo that is to think
totally.
that has any meaning whatsoever in 2 weeks when you play a real game.
Not
Come
at all.
on.
Nothing. But, it's coaching by vibes, right? And I do think that very precious little of that still occurs, but I think it's still out there a little bit. And I would be surprised if we saw some of that throughout the preseason this year. I mean, maybe even this Saturday. Hey, we'll see.
Let me ask about a specific player. Am I the only one that's getting very intrigued about this kid, Evan Williams?
No, you are not. I mean, you talk about a football player.
Looking interesting.
What's crazy is that, I don't even know if he's going to start because they love Bullard out of Georgia, which they should. I think Bullard's looked really good. He's absolutely looked the part opposite McKinney. But, man, Evan Williams, every day I'm just kind of flabbergasted how good he is instantly. Not just the physical part of it, although, of course, that's a big component, but just pre-snap, directing traffic, knowing the plays just off of the motion. He's screaming out, it's a pitch left, and it is a pitch left. His ability to get skinny through the wash and make tackles, he is the real deal. I mean, you talk about a football player, and it is kind of striking because in Green Bay, it's been a while since we had safety play like that. Yeah. And now suddenly we have a bunch of safeties that look really good. It's kind of like Dorothy landing in Oz and things turning to color. It's like, oh, this is safety play. My goodness, who would have thunk?
Is it fair to say we've had minus safety play for the last 3 years?
I don't want to denigrate Adrian Amos because I think he was a solid player until his final year in Green Bay. But kind of, yeah. Okay. I think it's been rough at that spot for a while.
They bought one of the best and
they drafted 2 really good ones. And who knows? Oladapo could turn into something too. Well, we'll see.
Right. And if Evan Williams, out of Oregon in the 4th round is as good as he looks, that's another mid-round 4, 5, 6 bonus baby.
I mean, it is early, but once again, it looks like Goody cooked in the draft.
Yeah. And Goody we trust. So how was the get-together with all the assembled Packers?
It was good. It was fun. We had a good time. You guys were missed. No doubt about it.
I know. Well, in a way, I like that you guys who really put in the legwork covering the team on a day-to-day basis, more than us,
right.
to be amongst your clan to talk about dealing with certain players. And
but there was a little of that, no doubt. But it was fun. And I also enjoyed seeing you guys at the cookout at the iHeart house last week.
Appreciate that you came on.
I appreciated the invite. It was really good to be there. Always a good time.
Have you never been to Benke's place?
I've never been.
Well, we got to rectify that.
I know where it's at. I drive by and I look at it. I just look at it in awe. I go, oh, how nice it'd be to be invited one day.
Yeah. Okay, here we go.
Just straight awe every time I drive by.
Amazing. Well, we'll fix that this year. This season, it'll fix itself.
All right, Nagler, it's been great to have you, my friend. And just slip that one in there. All right. Thank you, buddy. Cheesehead TV, your one-stop shop for all things Packers. We'll talk next week.